this session, so let's get started.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Data Engineering on the first day of DataCon LA 2021. My name's Ron Lee, and I will be your co-host, and Lee Middleton will be our co-host today. For this session, we have Alpa Buddhabhatti, who will be leading a discussion on a case study, data movement and transformation using Azure Data Factory. There will be possibly a question and answer period at the end of the 40-minute session, depending on time. Alpa has a long presentation or a 40-minute presentation, so we'll try to make room for questions as they allow. Alpa is an Azure consultant with a passion for data and technology at Cluster Reply. She has 12 years experience as a software developer and has worked on a variety of projects. She is a Microsoft certified trainer and speaker. So without further ado, here's Alpa.
Thank you, Lee. Let's share my screen. Thank you all and welcome to my session, a case study, data movement and transformation using Azure Data Factory here at DataCon LA 2021. The purpose of this session is to provide you a very quick overview of Azure Data Factory with a case study so you can apply this idea into your business or case. So let's start with myself. I'm Alpa Buddhabhatti and I'm working as Azure consultant at Cluster Reply. I have also added my LinkedIn information. So if you have any question now or later on, please feel free to contact me. So let's start with today's agenda. Today's agenda is divided into three main parts. In first part, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of Azure Data Factory. And in second part, we are going to see a quick demo using the case study. And if time permits, then I would like to give you a quick overview of DevOps for a Azure Data Factory. So let's start with first one, Azure Data Factory. So what is Azure Data Factory? Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based data integration service that orchestrates and automates the movement and transformation of your data. And we can see that Azure Data Factory is a PaaS service, it's a platform as a service, and it's a serverless. So you don't need to worry about compute infrastructure, CPU, GPU, RAM, anything. Azure Cloud Provider will do it behalf of you. And because of above two reason, you only pay if you consume. Like for example, if your Azure Data Factory or pipeline is running, then it get charged. Otherwise, there is no any charge. So it's very cheap. And also, you will get a very small amount of charge, which is a storage charge, but which is very, very small, which can be negligible. And also we can say that Azure Data Factory is low code or no code solution. That means without writing any code in language like Scala, Java or Python, you can create your pipeline or workflow in just a UI by drag and drop components, and you can create that, and you can create it very quickly and very efficiently, and you can deploy it very soon in a production. So that is a Azure Data Factory. So let's start with key component of Azure Data Factory. So first one is linked service. So linked service is similar to a connection string. So for example, if you are coming from a language like C#, Java, then you can see that you have a connection string if you use any data source like SQL Server or Oracle. And if you use like if you are coming from SQL side, database side, then you can see that you have a database connection string as well. And if you are from SSI side, then you can see that you have a connection manager. So Link service is just holding your connection sync of your particular data source, and it's authorize and authenticate your data source, so it can be used by other component in your Azure Data Factory. So this is the very important and first component in a Azure Data Factory. So let's move into next one. Next one is data sets. Data sets is a metadata of a data or a reference data. So it hold a structure. So for example, if your link service is connected to Azure SQL database, then your data set is a kind of a table. The data stored as a kind of a table. But if your link services is connected or it has holding the connection string for REST API, then your data set would be a JSON data. It's in a JSON format. So that is a data set. Next one is activities. Activities is like a task. It do a specific task. For example, copy activity, copy a data. If Databricks activity, then it perform a Databricks notebook task in Azure Data Factory. If it's machine learning activity, then you can execute, means Azure Data Factory execute your model in Azure Data Factory. And you have other activities like for each loop activity, if activities, and so on, which we will see later on in a demo. So these are the activities. Next one is pipelines. Pipelines is a logical group of your activities, and this pipeline do perform a specific requirements for your business outcomes. So next one is triggers. So once you have ready your pipeline, you can trigger it. Someone has to call your pipeline, and you can do it via triggered, and you can do in various way, which we'll see later on this demo, this session. So these are the five main important components of your Azure Data Factory. So now let's move into next topic, which is data moments. So in Azure Data Factory, you can move your data from one data source to another data source. And for that, you can use either copy activity or you can use a copy data tool. So let's start with copy data tool or a copy activity. So here you can see that I have various data sources in my in a left side. So you can see that you can move your data source data from other cloud service like AWS and Google Cloud. You can move your data from on-premises system like SQL Server or Oracle. You can move a data from Salesforce or CRM 365. You can move your data from custom activities or web activities like Azure Function, HTTP Web Call or REST API, or you can use SFTP. So there are many data sources available, but I have given here few of them. So these are the data source you can use as a source, and you can use same as a sink as well. So Azure Data Factory will help you to move your data from more than 100 data sources. And here I have provided you link, so you can see that which particular data set you use as a source or a sink or both of them. So for that you will get more information in this link. So let's move into transformation. So transformation is something which you can do in via UI in Azure Data Factory UI in drag and drop way. And for that, we in Azure Data Factory it has a mapping data flow. And for transformation, here you are not writing single line of code. You are not writing your code in Java, Scala, or Python uh, for Databricks capability and features. But same features you can get it by just a drag and drop, because the mapping data flow use a Databricks behind the scene. So let's start with mapping data flow. So it's a transformation. So you can see that in a left side, these are the sources available, and there are more as well, but I have added here sample one. So you can move your data from these data sources or transform your data using these data sources to a different data sources. And you can have around 12 data sources available, which you can use in a mapping data flow in your Azure Data Factory. And here I have provided a link which help you to find out the information regarding your data source. You use as a sink or you use as a source or both of them. So these are the data transformation. Now let's move into what can we do in Azure Data Factory. So in Azure Data Factory, when you use a UI, no code or low code, and you create any task, any components, then behind the scene, Azure Data Factory create a JSON file, and those JSON file are ready for source control. So you don't need to write down any line of code, but they will generate automatically. Also, it provide a inbuilt Git integration, and you can use either Azure DevOps Kit or GitHub using the ADF UI interface. Also, you can monitor your components, ADF related components, and you can manage ADF related components using UI. Also, you can trigger your pipeline. You can trigger your pipeline based on specific time, like every day, 6 p.m. or Pacific time. You can also trigger your pipeline based on a file created or deleted from a Pacific blobs container or storage. You can trigger your pipeline based on a custom activities such as Azure Function, Logic Apps, PowerShell, and a C Sharp code. So you can write down your customized code here and you can trigger your pipelines. So these things you can do in a Azure Data Factory. So now let's move into second part, which is a case study. So here uh, let me give you a little bit more information. So in this part, you can see that we are moving the files from Azure Blob Storage to Azure Data Lake Gen 2, and then we do transformation whenever is needed. So this is the specific requirement for a customer. And for that, I have created 6 main resources in Azure Data Factory. So problem statements. So let me give you a background of this original problem. So we had a client and they had a specific requirements. Client would like to move their file or data for all business outcome, and they would like to do as soon as possible and with efficiently and with a particular deadline, and client would like to do it that with a minimum workflow or pipelines. Like client would like to have operationalize and parameterize their pipeline. They like that way. So for that we have choose Azure Data Factory. And for that I will give you more information that in Azure we have other service which is a blob storage, and we have a data lake gen 2. So here we have created a source container in our storage, and we have created two different container in our data lake gen 2, and we have given a specific name. Like for example, this is a spec code, means a business outcome related code, and it's concatenation with a dash in. And then here we have a business outcome related spec code, and it's a concatenation with that staging. And we have a spec code or business outcome code. So this way we have designed the storage container. So initially file will comes into here in container, and then one pipeline will run and it move all files from storage to data lake gen 2, and the next pipeline will kick and it will do a transformation and it's move a file from data lake gen 2 from a specific business outcome related container to a final container or Azure SQL server. So for example, you can see that this is a business outcome 1 bo001, and it's concatenated with dash in. Similarly, for once pipeline will execute, it move file from in container to staging container. And the next pipeline will run, which is transformation related, and it's move and do a transformation and then move a file from staging to a main container in a data lake gen 2, and it also can move a file from Azure SQL server. So this first business outcome is related to movie data file, and its main name is bo001. Second one is a second business outcome which has the same standard. You can see that. And here, this business outcome is related to magazine membership data files. And its name is BO002. And then this is the third one. And it can have a more than three, but initially client had a 10 data business outcomes and it has a different structure in that containers and different format of file as well, and different like JSON or CSV or like that, XML or like that. So for that we have used specific design. So here is a higher level design for that. So you can see that initially file comes into blob storage and a specific pipeline will run and it move file from blob storage to a data lake gen 2. Then next pipeline, which is transformation related run, and it do some transformation and it store result into Azure SQL Server or a data lake gen 2, depending on a requirement. So these are the basic things. So now let's move same thing into a Azure portal. So here you can see that this is my resource group for that business out client requirement. And here you can see that I have six main resources. So I have three resources which are related to data storage, which is a data source, and I have a one key vault resource which hold the secure information, and I have Azure Data Factory. So let's start with key vaults. So here you can see that this is my key vault which I have created, and here I have a secrets. So this key vault hold a secrets for three different data sources. One for blob storage, data lake gen 2, and Azure SQL Server. So once I created this source secrets, then I after that I need to give access policy to my Azure Data Factory. Then and then my Azure Data Factory can access these secrets in Azure Data Factory, otherwise it gives some errors. So these are the two steps. First you store your secret, create secrets, store secrets, and then give a permission to our Azure Data Factory. So this is the keywords. Let's close that now. Then I have a storage. So in my storage at the moment I have a one container and it has a two files. Then I have a data lake gen 2, which has a staging container and main container. And so let's start with Azure Data Factory. So this is my Azure Data Factory. And here you can see that this is my main pipeline. And this main pipeline have a two different pipelines, and one is a activity. So you can easily add here pipeline by just do execute pipeline. You drag and drop, and then you can select and call a child pipeline here. So that way I have two different pipelines here already. And let's start with first one, loading one. So this loading pipeline uh, load data for each pipeline for each business outcome. So you can see that here we can redirect here, and you can see the design of the loading pipeline is it select all file from that particular container and it do a copy. It move those file into a different container, and here you can see that it's moving into data lake gen 2. So this is my loading pipeline. But let me show you a link service. So these are link services, and you can see that I have four different link services. So key vault, which hold this is my key vault which I showed you earlier, and this is my three data sources, and you can see that my data sources is now using the key vaults. So here I'm not typing any name or password or anything because I'm just using secrets here from this key vault, and then I can test it by this way, and you can see that it's successfully connecting to my key vault. So without typing any secure information, you can connect it, and for that it's better to use a Azure key vault. It's taking some time. So while it's doing that, you can see that here is a curly bracket icon. So that one is a code. So that one is a JSON code which generated by Azure Data Factory for link services. Let's wait for this.
Hi, Alpa.
Yeah,
Just wanted to let you know that we're at the 20-minute mark.
yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. At the moment it's failed. Okay. Let's don't worry about that. Uh, because I had just ran pipeline here, so it's working fine. So okay. So here you can see that who is using your link service as well. It's only this data set, and you can see list of data set as well. And you can delete your link service, and you can see a code as well here. So these are the JSON code, and it's generated automatically. So these are the link services, and you can add new link services by just clicking here. Uh, and let's move into now a pipeline again. And this pipeline I have just ran before starting this demo. So here you can see that this is my metadata activity, which look a particular container here. Let's go to here. So yeah, it will look a particular container. Let's zoom it out based on a spec code, which is movie, and then it will give all files in that container based on that spec code. And then this for each loop will work for 2 times, because you can see that in my container I have 2 files. And then it will do 2 times copy, and this Google icon will give you information like how it works, or how many file read, or how many byte read, or like that. And you can see queuing time and transformation time as well. So it gives you a very good view of your transformation data movements. And so that is a metadata activity. And metadata activity pass each file name in a for each loop by just setting here this way. Get activity dot child out child items, and you can easily edit by just adding here that metadata activity, and you can type here child items. Okay, so this way you can edit, so you don't need to remember syntax or anything. So this is the copy data activity. Sorry, this is the data movements, and we have done for a one container. So let's move here. What happen if I have a new business outcome? So which is business outcome 001 dot in. I'm just adding one new container for my different business outcome, and I am uploading file here. I'm uploading file here from second business outcome. And so if I run now my pipeline, let's go to here. Let's first close it because we don't want to do any changes. And let's reopen it again. So now I would like to run this one. So earlier it ran for a business outcome, which is movie. And now let's move it for a business outcome 001. So this is my original spec code, and I'm not providing here in container or staging container, but it will automatically calculate in parameters. It's running it now. While it's running, here you can see that I think it's here. So this is my data set, and here you can see that I'm passing the spec code, which is actually is this parameter, this spec code. So it's ran very quickly as well. And here you can very easily edit. You don't need to remember anything again. So pipeline has pass parameter, and you can use that parameter into your data set by just clicking that way. So you using your parameter from pipeline to data source to data set, and then you can see that it will only use that specific container and specific uh, storage container and in container file. So and then let's see what it's doing here. So you can see that I have passed business outcome 001, and let's go to what is output of metadata activity. So you can see that it has a one child only. Here you can see that child item, and it's looking into this container because it's source container, and we have parameterized with a concatenation as well. So and then it passing into for each loop, which is one item, and then for each loop will copy that item, and you can see here as well more information, and you can see here that it's move a file from blob storage to a data lake gen 2. So let's see here that is it moved file from here to data lake chain or not. And also you can see that here there is no container from business outcome 001 because we have only two containers. But if I refresh, you will see that there is a one extra container, which is this one. It is automatically created by copy activity, and copy activity has placed file as well here. This is my file. You can see that. So these are the data, and I have used a small amount of data because I would like to run it very quickly. So this way I can create here. Let's go to blob container. This way I can create here more than as many business outcome I would like business outcome 2, 3, 4, 5, and they can have a different file as well. And copy the movement pipeline, loading pipeline will move according to that specific business outcome to a specific business outcome staging container in data lake gen 2. So this way my loading pipeline will work for all business outcome, and it will move a file from a specific container to specific container in a staging area in data lake gen 2. So that is the data loading one. Let's see transformation. So transformation are very specific for a source file. So at the moment, I have only created transformation from movie business outcome. But for each business outcome, we need to create separate transformation because it based on a source file. So here, while we are talking, let me turn on the mapping data flow flag, because this flag will turn on the Spark cluster. Behind the scene, Spark cluster is spin up, and it is a Databricks features. And you should turn it off if you don't need it, because it's charged. Databricks will charge per hour for that, and it takes 3 to 4 minutes to turn on. So while it's turning on, let me explain you other things. So this is my transformation, and before that, let me show you source. What is in a source in a staging? So this is a movie staging, and here you can see that we have a file, and in this file you can see that I have headers, and in my last column you can see that it let me little bit zoom. Last column you can see that it has a concatenation by comma, and it I would like to split them into four different columns. It's like address 1, address 2, address 3, and address 4, like that way. Another thing is here I'm only interested moving into a particular year, because I don't want a load a huge amount of data in my Azure SQL Server. So I would like to filter them, and I'm only interested the movie which is a comedy movie, and I would only interested rating of that movies in a specific years. So that is my basic requirements for a transformation. So for that, let's go to transformation in here. So this is my source, and I'm connecting that one from data lake gen 2 via file name, and you can see it via this way. So this is my data set, and as I said you earlier, we are concatenating using the staging. So here you can use a concatenation function, concate function, which easily available in here. Here a lot of other function also available, but I have used a concate one. So here I'm parameterized using the dynamically parameterized here, and I'm concatening as well here. And let's see here. Here you can see schema as well. So that is my data set, and I'm getting it from my data lake gen 2 in staging for a Pacific container, which is movie related container. So in my source, uh, let's see, it's still running it. Let's refresh. So yeah, so here I'm connecting my source file. This is my source file, and I'm adding now filter here because, as I said you earlier, I'm only and only interested between Pacific years. So this is the Pacific years, and here I can add more filter as well. Like I can say and then I can say that only the comedy movie, but I haven't done yet. So this is the filter, and you can easily add filter by just clicking here. So you can see that these are the uh, available all components, and they are very similar to Azure SQL server. Like you can use join, conditional, split, like that, all the things you can do it. And you can just select, you don't need to do anything. It's very quick. You just add here like this, and then you select and enter, it will add in this area. So that way you can add your components here. And then if you remember, then I need to do now derived column, because my address is just comma concatenated with a comma. And in my address it can have a new line as well, line comma separated or line break carriage written as well. So this derived column I'm using to just replacing. Let's see here. This one is just replacing the new line or carriage written with a comma. So end of the transformation, I have a data with a comma separated. In a case if it's a new line or a comma, both, I'm converting them in a comma. So that is the derived column, extra derived column I have added. And now this derived column I'm splitting them now. I'm splitting.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alpa.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know that we have less than actually we have 7 minutes left. This is a lot of information, but unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. So here you can see that we have, I'm splitting it by comma, and I'm adding it here. So I'm adding extra 4 columns, and this is the aggregation. I'm doing group by, and I'm saying average rating as well. Here you can see that rating average, and I'm moving data into a Azure Data Lake Gen 2, LEN 2, and here I'm moving the data into Azure SQL database. And you can preview data by refreshing here, but as we have limited time, so I'm not giving to preview. So this is the mapping data flow. Let's refresh it. Um, yeah. So with that, I would like to end with this demo, and would like to move into next part, which is let's move into slide back, which is the Azure Data Factory, DevOps for Azure Data Factory. So like what is a continuous integration and continuous delivery for Azure Data Factory. So for that, we can see that continuous integration is a practice of testing each change made to your code base automatically and as earliest as possible. And this one we can call as a build pipeline. So based on build pipeline, it generates the build artifacts, and it's used by continuous delivery, which is a next step. And we also call it release pipeline. And release pipeline will release your Dev Azure Data Factory into different environments, like different staging very quickly. So these are the continuous integration in a area. And here you can see that We can move our Azure Data Factory from one environment to another environment, or we can deploy the Azure Data Factory from one environment to another environment in two ways. We can do it by manually by import export ARM template, or we can do it automatically. And for that, we can use CI/CD, which I showed earlier. And at the moment, we have only one dev data factory which connected to a repository. And once we have a build pipeline is ready, we can use the release mechanism and we can deploy that dev data factory into different environments, different staging environments. And this is the life cycle. So here you can see that I have a 4 data factory. So my only one data factory is connected with collaboration branch, and rest of all related to a release mechanism. So if I want to do some change, then I need to create new feature branch, and then I do change in feature branch, and then I create a pull request, and once pull request approves, then code goes into collaboration branch. And then I have to manually click on publish button in Azure Data Factory UI. Then it will generate a ARM templates, and it plays into ADF des publish branch. And from here, my build pipeline will trigger, and it generate build artifacts, and then my release pipeline will trigger, and it will deploy the code into different environments. So here I have added a link as well if you like to have more information. And with that, I would like to thank you for attending this session. I would like to thank you for organizer and sponsor as well. And I would like to thank you and hope you will enjoy rest of event. And with that, I'm open with a question.
Well, as it happens, we have about 3 more minutes. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A tab.
I also have added here link which I have added GitHub repo for this demo, and I have added one another link. Using that, you can create your Azure resources by just one click away in your Azure subscription. So these are the 2 links for that. Yeah.
I personally will be asking you some questions because I've always had issues with legacy processes and SSIS packages,
Yeah.
which I would like to move into Data Factory.
Yeah.
And I've never had a good way of doing that.
Yeah, actually, you can move. There are 2 ways you can do it. You can shift your SSIS package into Azure Data Factory, or you can modify it. You can convert in using the different, creating new pipelines, like redesign it.
One issue that I've always had is the scheduling of
Yeah.
SSIS packages. So is there an easy way of doing that?
Yeah, in a exercise, like we can, if you have a pipeline, then you can trigger. I think I missed maybe that slide, but you can trigger it in a various different way in Azure Data Factory. You can
So,
trigger, yeah,
so triggering, not scheduling then.
you can, yeah, yeah. They are slightly different, but they are even though is same because you scheduling based on time. Is it?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So you
for both
schedule,
processing.
yeah,
Well, actually, we still have 2 more minutes.
yeah.
Um,
Actually, I ran very quickly. Maybe I miss important thing as well. So yeah. Yeah.
okay. Well, I think that probably will about do it because we have 1 minute. And thank you very much, Alpa, for a very informative talk.
Yeah.
And
Thank you,
thank you
Alpa.
for all the attendees. We have plenty more going on in both the data engineering track and other tracks. You can check the agenda for everything that's going on this weekend. If you have any more questions for Alpa, would you like to put your slide, your contact slide again?
Yeah. Sorry.
You can reach out to the speaker directly. And thank you for being a part of this year's DataCon LA. There will be a feedback form in the chat box. Perhaps there already is, but there will be, and you can respond to that. Thank you very much, and
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.